been a certified arborist since 93, but I've been spraying trees since I'm going to tell you, if I told you 5 years old, you wouldn't even believe me. But yes,
I'd believe you. I kind of understand when you grow up with a family that does stuff.
Right.
You're not out there at 18 years old working. No, you're out there as soon as you can put some shoes on.
That's right.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's AJ on the More Than Grass podcast, and I'm excited because today I have special guest Eric Putnam, BCMA, that is board certified master arborist, here with me today. Eric, dude, how long have we known each other?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, maybe like 2 or 3. Yeah. I'd say almost about 10 years.
Wait, no, longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you start the tree service? With your partner?
Man, that
15 years ago, 2015?
Like 12.
Yeah.
12 years ago, maybe, because that was a short-lived little venture.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
But that is when we met each other, is when I had AJ's tree care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for y'all who didn't know, I once upon a time ago had my own tree business as well. And then I ran into this gentleman and said, hey, it says you're a master certified arborist. I want you to teach me stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's definitely some stuff to learn for sure.
And man, to this day, I'm so thankful that we did cross paths, because had I not crossed paths with you, I wouldn't have learned about humic acid. And I was already learning a little bit about molasses and how incredibly wonderful and simple it is, right? But then I remember talking about Microlife products, and you said, you know, those are great, AJ, but have you ever just tried humic acid and molasses?
That's a basic, still down basics right there. It can't get any more stronger than that.
Right. And I remember one of my earlier jobs in the beginning of Hippie Fertilizing, I believe. I think I was doing some fertilizing when I still had the tree business, but not much. And I know I bought some like Microlife humic acid, which is good stuff. And you asked me if I got the powder. I hadn't yet. I was like, powder? What do you mean? What's this? And I finally found some. And I did what you said. You know, there isn't much of the powder in the liquids. You know, again, liquid humic acid products are highly effective, good stuff. Don't want to deter you from using it. However, for our purposes of spraying it on everything that we do, because we usually get called when everyone screwed stuff up, right? Which we'll dive into in a minute. You told me to use like a couple pounds of powder
per yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
well, the reason why the basic homeowner probably couldn't use powder, they couldn't mix it and apply it. Liquid's much easier.
Right. Yeah. So it's not really feasible for the average consumer homeowner. And sometimes it's messy as hell. Right. So even other applicators, like, look, buyer beware.
Well, that, and you know, our treatment crews have 2 to 3 people on them because there's 2 guys' job pre-wetting everything down to keep from staining everything.
Okay, so right. Yeah, you taught me that too. Hey, did you know if you just spray everything with water first, it won't stick?
Right.
And then, because I don't do that, I'm a one-man show a lot of times.
Right.
I just got to be very careful where I'm going with it, right? And so I even tell people today, you know, if they got that beautiful white stone on their landscape, I'm not getting close to that, Mr. Johnson. No. Right. Well, why not? Because I'm not coming back here to come power wash all your stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, you get popped to paint $1 million home after you've turned it brown.
I don't even want to know about that one. Not yet.
We haven't made any mistakes like that, but I learned right off the bat, it comes out coffee color. And it's a lot more color fast than coffee. Mm-hmm. So we have to make sure that everything is wet, and as it drips, we spray, and then everything comes off.
Really easy.
Real super easy.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's get, you know, I met you 10 years ago. You've been a mentor to me over the years, taught me a different way of looking at things. which I still utilize and explain to people like, no, it's not just this one thing, it's the environment, right?
Yes.
And that has added so much value to my approach on things. So thank you for that, Eric. It has been a tremendous value to building Hippie Fertilizing. Um, how long have you been in business?
I am second generation, and I have my children working for me, so they're third. And one of my children had my first grandbaby, and the grandbaby comes to the office, so that's like four generations.
That is awesome.
Right.
But as far as like Eric Putnam BCMA, and I know that you had another venture before that, you know,
There's a three or four different companies throughout my lifetime.
okay.
When
So
I say
how
I'm
long
second
ago?
generation, I grew up in the business.
Well, right. But now like it's your own outfit,
Right.
right? So
We
how long has it been your own outfit?
well, 1993, I had Arbortech, which I sold it to build the business I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is a much better, well organized business. It took me building one, selling one to be able to create this better business. And this
Okay.
better business is a much better business model, and lessons to learn how to do business.
So since 93 though, you've been in business.
93. I've been a certified arborist since 93, but I've been spraying trees since I'm going to tell you, if I told you 5 years old, you wouldn't even believe me. But yes, I
Hey,
have
I'd believe you.
been spraying trees and looking at trees and for a very long time.
Yeah.
Dragging branches when I was much younger than 5.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I can kind of believe it because even though I'm not in the roofing business, my father, like that's
Your
what
dad
my
has
family.
your dad has a nice truck.
Yeah. Thank
Yes.
you. So I was moving shingles and doing stuff in roofing business when I was tiny, right? So
Yeah.
I kind of understand when you grow up with a family that does stuff.
Right.
You're not out there at 18 years old working. No, you're out there as soon as you can put some shoes on.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's pretty young.
And it was kind of scary in the beginning because I didn't think my kids were going to be a part of my business. And then one day they asked if they can come work for me, my daughter and my son-in-law, and it was the best addition to my business ever that allowed me to grow exponentially
Yeah,
because they're very talented.
man,
They're not even 21 years old yet. They are very, very talented.
that is so amazing.
Right. And mostly in the like trying to figure out the whole Google game and the whole advertising
Oh,
and
dude.
leads and all that kind of stuff, websites.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which changes so much so fast. When we first met, websites were easy, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. It's not
I'm not messing
it's
with
not
them.
it's no longer an organic game anymore. It's really about who you can bring leads, whether it's going to be Google or another organization that can sell leads to you. It's
Mhm.
basically about your ability to be able to buy leads.
But then also you buy the leads and you got to where you are now because you can perform and your
Right.
crews can perform what they
Right.
can. So there's that balance there, right?
Back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, maybe through the mid 90s until I guess Google or the internet kicked in, we would probably 90% of our work was word of mouth or references.
Mhm.
And now less than 5% of our work is references. So the internet is also, because there's so many millions of people out there that can cut a tree or trim a tree
Oh,
or
man.
whatever, that it's hard. References, referrals are just not a deal anymore. You can't depend on them for sure.
And they still help. They still add value to your
Yeah, they
business
do,
for
yes.
sure. But you're not going to grow a big, strong business on referral alone. It's not ever going to happen.
No.
In this day and age. You do need that, like a little bit of social media and website and just a good, healthy mixture of it all. But you pointed out something that I'm going to start digging more into is the Google ads and the how to acquire leads, right?
Yeah, we use about a dozen lead acquisition services, and we We specifically only buy leads, and we specifically only use people that can supply us lead for a solid dollar number.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't ever pay in advance for leads because those companies can't deliver. They're
No,
notoriously
but
they can't deliver.
I don't want to get into that just yet.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine, man. I want to go back to you have been a certified arborist since I was 5 or 6 years old. Okay. And for the timeline, and I hate to put you out like this, but 36 now. He's been an arborist for 30 years.
Yeah, 30, 31 years, I guess. My number's a really, really low number. It's in the same range as the ISA presidents.
A low number?
Low number 0198.
Oh,
They
you mean your
started,
arborist number.
yeah, so they
Got it.
started
Almost
out
like a
with,
badge number.
right. So they started out with 100, 100. And I'm the 98th arborist in Texas and like the third one in Houston.
No way.
All the arborists were like in Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas, and very few are actually in Houston.
Uh-huh. Which as we go along, because I already know that I want to have you back here multiple times. Okay. But something I talk about with other professionals that I bring in is there's such a lack of continuity and it's things from even like professionalism, but actual knowledge in our industry. Now, you are very specific in trees and arboriculture. I like to think that I have a little bit of knowledge in lawns and grass and a little bit of landscape, but it seems like you go around the fence of lawn care, landscaping, arboriculture, all these things. There is such a lack of solid knowledge. There's even really good business people in our industries, right? But then like you go to ask them and have an in-depth conversation about something and they're like, phew.
You can't, the tree, just the tree category, the arboriculture category is so in depth. There is no way that you could know everything about trees.
But even still, like there's no ways I could know everything about grass and soil and so forth, right? I guess my point is that you mentioned earlier that there's so many tree companies out there. Okay.
Tens of thousands in Houston, yes.
Tens of thousands of tree companies in the Houston area. And hey, we're a huge metropolitan area, millions and millions of people. So it is expected that we're going to have a lot of competition and things like that. My point I want to make is out of even all the competition that we have and all the people out there, how many people are truly professional in their field and have knowledge? Okay, now I know like in our realm, we know a few of those guys, right? Who can properly identify quite a bit of things and take a better approach at feeding a tree, treating a tree, trimming a tree, so on and so forth, right? But how many times do we see companies out there and the guy is up in a tree with a rope tied around his waist, right? I know it makes you want to cringe, right?
Or a machete.
Oh, yeah. I just all these things that I don't even want to call practices, okay?
I won't even judge the pickup truck guys because a couple of times through my whole entire career, we've used a pickup truck to do tree work. But proper work, right? Regardless of what your equipment is,
True.
proper work.
And having a sense of professionalism about it. And the part I would also say about a higher level of professionalism is, now I know you get this in the tree industry because I was in the tree industry, obviously not a tenth of the time that you've been in it, but how sometimes customers or potential customers want to tell us what to do, right? Well, I just want you to chop off this limb like this and do this and do this. And they're like, hold on. That's why you hired me.
Yes, we walk away from a lot of our, probably 10% of the work that we have a chance to bid, we walk away from for them wanting to over prune it the wrong way, or cutting their neighbor's trees back to the fence line.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really bad deal. People think that they can legally cut their neighbor's tree back to the fence line or cut their roots to the fence line. Though they can legally do it, they can also pay for the damage it caused to the neighbor's tree. And in some cases, people are being sued for 300, 400, $500,000 for tree damage.
Oh yeah, if you mess up a big, giant, beautiful oak or some other variety that's a very old tree that you can't just replace.
And if you own the tree and it goes over your neighbor's property and you cut the tree down, then your neighbor can sue you for cutting your tree down because it was a shared tree at that point.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't even know that. I've never heard that one.
So many tree laws, so many tree rules, and all these guys out here that don't know that they don't know are destroying neighbors' trees, doing damage, cutting roots to the property line, causing trees to fall over. Yeah.
Now, I know I've been guilty, definitely, of like the trimming trees up that are going over fences. Now, even when we did it, we tried to do it to where it was still very aesthetic to the tree, and we didn't want to just lop something off all haphazardly. And sometimes we'd even convince the customer like, hey, look, let us leave it this way, because if we do what you want to do, it's going to be ugly and it's not going to be healthy. Now, something that I've always had at least some knowledge of is I don't mess with people's roots. Like, I don't recommend it. I want to leave it alone, or leave that to a professional like yourself, because there's right ways of handling it. And I don't know any of those. I'm not touching roots.
Yeah.
Right.
There's so
couple
many
little limbs, whatever.
There's so much bad reputation that roots get, and it's not based in science. And so trees just get destroyed over the lack of knowledge of roots. Especially one of the biggest myths out there is root barriers.
Okay.
And
how so?
okay, well, you're doing just as good to cut the root, as long as it's not really close to the tree, to install the root barrier, right? So that's tantamount to pruning the roots, and that's fine in some occasions, right? But some trees, they can't handle that kind of loss at all. And then there's a particular type of barrier that is impregnated with a pre-emergent plant growth hormone that actually kills trees.
Because it's like basically like a weed killer.
Right.
That's a slow release to it.
Right. And people say it doesn't harm anything because it works on a pre-emergent level, prevents the roots, but they don't understand that what happens is it's a different hormone than what maybe the tree's used to, and that hormone could actually go and shut down the tree's systems.
Well, even just in my basic knowledge of that stuff, any little bit of poison over time is bad.
Right. And we're talking real small, minute amounts actually causes the damage, and they don't actually see it. So, it's a very famous product, but we've had to rip up thousands of feet in order to save trees.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of feet of this stuff.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even count all the trees that just instantly died from the root pruning because they go too close to the tree or whatever. Yeah. It's just, people think, roots cause more damage than they actually cause.
Okay. I'm glad that you said that, because something on that area of the subject, I hear all the time about, how much roots cause damage to my foundation.
Yes.
Come on. Open it up for me.
Okay, so the basic layman science terminology for this is that the roots won't grow where there's no gas exchange.
Okay.
So that means there has to be either active fresh water or a way to put oxygen into the soil, right? So the foundations, they don't have that kind of gas exchange you're looking for.
Unless there's a busted pipe.
Unless there's a busted pipe that you need to fix anyway.
Whether it's like a drain pipe that does have airflow.
Well, it's not the airflow, it's the amount of water it brings in. And then once but what happens is the microbes in the soil could it's not going to cause it to go anaerobic, but what'll happen is they'll convert enough of the nutrition into an anaerobic style condition where the oxygen is really low underneath there, and so then when the roots set out that hormone to detect that oxygen, then it doesn't cause it to grow there. You understand
Because
what I'm saying?
because it's anaerobic and
Right.
there is no oxygen.
Right. Or it still has oxygen but it's just not enough for it to entice roots to grow there.
Okay.
So we've done air excavations for many years on hundreds of houses where we blast all the air, all the dirt out from around the roots. And we find out that all the roots going for the foundation, nice fat roots, they all stop right
And
there, and they hardly, very rarely go under unless there's a pipe leak.
so what I've seen the most that is the most like visually apparent, it seems to be with pine trees mostly, is I'll see the roots wrap around a house.
They all do. Live oaks, ashes, maples. They're not growing underneath the house though.
I know it just some for some reason predominantly I always see it with a pine tree close by, right? With other varieties of trees, I know the same thing is happening. It's just not on top, showing me the same like pine bark
Right.
look that you can easily spot with a pine tree.
Right. So, the way I look at it, after talking to a bunch of engineers and stuff, and I'm not a foundation engineer, right? But if your foundation was unhealthy, that means it can't handle the water movement in the soil,
Mm-hmm.
and so then the foundation settles in uneven, a different and different every time the soil expands, and every time it goes down, the foundation will come in a different movement, right? If it was a healthy foundation, everything would be just stay together. So it really doesn't matter if you have a tree there taking more water
Well,
or your neighbor's tree's taking the water. If the foundation can't evenly move or move with itself, regardless of whether you have a tree there, it's not a healthy foundation. So you can't really blame that on a tree.
so I kind of want to like, I want everyone to understand this the best that I understand it is that number one, tree roots are not really causing significant damage to home foundations.
That's water loss, that is.
That's water loss. So it goes into this because this is what I do see every year. Because just like you, I'm walking around homes every day looking at different things. Why is this and this and this happening? Again, like you taught me, look at the environment, right? When we go from these high fluctuations of wet weather to drought within the span of a couple weeks, boom, you have a huge shift in your soil and that expansion and compaction. And that's what's causing the damage to the foundation, not the freaking tree.
Yeah, and grass moves a lot of water in and out. So if you didn't have a tree there, you have grass. So I like to collect data. In fact, this new business is built on a lot of data. I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of points of data for this business. But when I was younger, I created kind of like this mental data on what was going on. So we would typically ask, I don't know, from the 70s to present, we typically, when we have to remove a tree because of they're worried about the foundation, you just couldn't convince them nothing, that it was just a tree, right? So we call them back and ask them if it's fixed their foundation problems if they remove the tree, and consistently the answer is no, and that they ended up having to get a foundation repaired anyway, even though that the foundation company told them that it was the tree that was causing the problem. And where the trees usually get the axe is when the foundation guy has to come out and do warranty work because they didn't do the job appropriately the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing they're going to do is, what's the tree?
No.
So the customer cuts the tree down and finds out it still was a bad foundation job because neighbors' trees, grass, heck, if you had just plain dirt, it's going to dry out quicker than if you had grass or trees, because trees and grass, they preserve the amount of liquid they have in the ground. They have to.
Right, especially with such a
They don't want to use it all up or they'll die, right?
well, what I found, and as I've gone further into hippie fertilizing, you know, of course, I got to really pay attention to what's happened in the lawns, right? Because I don't want to be like the dang foundation guy if I can help it, and oh, it's something else,
Right.
right? No, like what is it that I can do to mitigate the problem, for why I'm there? Anyway, I have a customer over in like the Alvin area. And you know, over in Alvin, in that area, beautiful big oak trees. Everyone always says, oh, the trees kill all the grass. To some degree, that can be true. But underneath those trees last summer, when it was dry as hell, was the most beautiful grass.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy because people don't really take the time to try to like work out the problems that they would be like if you were on a deserted island and you drank all the water right off the bat. The trees aren't like that. The grass isn't like that. So a good way of to tell how this works is if you're in a brand new neighborhood freshly getting built and you have this home and it has a nice landscaped yard and they don't necessarily have a new sprinkler system there. The trees growing, the grass is green or green yellow or whatever, right? And everything is fine and they're occasionally watering, but they're not really watering it any more than the vacant lot next door that has no grass that has 6-inch cracks in it because because what happens is the plants inevitably protect the amount of water and make sure that the water loss is down to a minimum.
Well, what I find to be, and correct me if I'm wrong or if you have different information, is number one, trees out of everything in the landscape have the most relationship with fungi.
Yeah, grass is more bacterial and some fungi, and trees are more fungi and some bacterial.
Right. So a very big difference in a fungal relationship on the root zone, which is good fungus. Don't put down a fungicide and get crazy, people. But fungi helps retain moisture big time and helps convert organic matter. Like I read consistently that 20 to 25% of organic matter that's consumed by fungi gets turned into water.
Yeah, I can see how that it has to dispel the water for sure. You know, plants, it doesn't matter what it is. Nothing organic can a plant accept. So there's no amount of mulch, there's no amount of molasses, humic acid, whatever still has a constituents of any kind of plant matter, organic, it doesn't matter.
Or
even
humus.
if it's anything like, corn, beef, chicken, whatever you're going to use to fertilize, fish, all of that. None, the tree can't recognize any of that. It's only the microbes. You feed the microbes, and then the microbes will take minerals from the dirt and then feed it to the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't, I digress because I kind of forgot where I was headed with that. But yeah, basically, the organics, everything you do organically has nothing to do with how the tree lives. The microbes are the stuff to do it. So the fungus is very important. If you don't have the fungus, then you don't have the tree being healthy or the plant being healthy.
Right. I guess my point is though, like again, looking at the trees and the relationships of things last summer during our extreme heat and our drought, it was proven wrong all the time about how grass doesn't grow underneath trees. That's where it was doing the best. Anyway, man.
Well, I can add to that. Okay. So I did want to interrupt you on that. Okay. So, when the sun's really high and the humidity is really low, right? Then, well, okay. So the way physiologically, the way trees work is they need a certain amount of humidity. Okay. The higher the humidity goes, it starts closing the stomatas. And typically the humidity kind of rises a bit with the heat. Mm-hmm. So as the heat rises, it's the humidity that rises that open and closes the stomatas, the water faucets of the tree or the leaves or whatever, right? So last year when we had 115 degrees here, the humidity was around 30%. So that means the stomatas were stuck wide open.
Oh, so it was releasing a lot of moisture.
Right. It was like pulled in so much, trees have these thousands of tubes called sieve tubes, right? And that's how they feed the water from the roots through the leaves, and that's what creates the vacuum or whatever. But it was pulling such a great amount of vacuum that people were actually watering their trees, and the trees were the tubes were filling full of air. It's called an embolism. And what happens is once that sieve tube gets a embolism in it, there's no way to save the tree, that tube is done. Now trees have millions of them, right? So what you're basically, if you could look at a tree like a magnolia, like 20% of the leaves are gone or never going to come back. So it's like a 20% embolism that the tree suffered. Or with the magnolias that died, like if they just straight up died, then it was 100%. embolism. But what happens is the water water can't be added to the roots quick enough. I think I got off topic there.
That's okay. So we are running out of time for this episode, but Eric, thank you very much for coming on and being a guest. Everyone look forward to a part 2 with Eric Putnam, BCMA. Before we do wrap it up, where can we find you? What is your business? Like, give us a little bit of those details so that we can look for one of the best arborists in Houston, Texas.
You can go to Google me, Eric Putnam, and you'll see me all over.
Okay, so
I'm pretty solid.
Google Eric Putnam, BCMA, and you will find him. Isn't it also Clear Lake City Arborist?
It is. Clear Lakes Arborist.
Clear Lakes Arborist, excuse me. Right. Yeah, and look up Clear Lakes Arborist. Galveston County local, goes all throughout Houston, and again, a board certified master arborist, one of the best in Houston. So if you were really concerned if your tree is sick, dying, needs to be brought back to health, you want to know that the company that you need to prune it and take care of it is going to do their job correctly and professionally, you reach out to Eric Putnam, BCMA. And thank you. You can find me at hippiefertilizing.com. It's been a great episode. Please give it a like, give it a share, show that you care. Peace.
Hey everybody, it's AJ with Hippie Fertilizing. We are here to help fix your lawn. Does it currently look brown, dead, dry, patchy? We'll call it Hippie. We can help turn it around. And one of the best ways to do that is with our Hippie Juice Plus application to revitalize your soil, your turf, and help give you a lush green lawn you're looking for. Please fill out our contact form at hippiefertilizing.com because nobody knows grass like a hippie. Peace.